Hey everyone, welcome to Princess of Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my blind reaction to Adam Eve. This is a special that is accompanying the Invincible series. It's a prequel to the series overall, but it kind of was released randomly, and no one knew this was coming. Um, with a trailer, it was basically announced and released alongside a trailer that came out for season 2, which is coming this fall. Now, if you look on the channel, I didn't react to this. I chose to watch Invincible on my own time, and I don't regret that. I think that it was a good choice to watch it on my own time. And I'm just going to say right off the bat, I have not decided whether I want to pick this up or not for season 2. Because we did that with like The Boys, if you remember. We didn't react to it at first, but then we eventually brought it into reactions afterwards. And I've been thinking about maybe doing that for this, but I'm not sure. Um, and part of the reason is because I enjoyed watching this on my own time. I'm reacting to this special, but I don't know if I'm going to react to season 2. We'll figure that out more as it comes. I think season two's coming in November. So we'll figure that out later, basically. Um, but if you didn't watch the series and are curious, you don't have to have seen season 1 to watch this, I'm sure. This is a prequel. It basically just explains one of the characters, Adam Eve, and where she came from. Um, so you should be fine. But for those who also don't know, the basic synopsis of Invincible is it centers around a teen boy who discovers his superpowers. His father is a superhero, and he's been waiting for his turn. So he finally discovers his superpowers and basically has to learn to handle the responsibility and struggles that come along with being a hero. Along the way, he meets other heroes his age and around his age, and gets to basically experience a life he was not entirely prepared for. Stephen Yoon stars as the main character, Mark Grayson, aka Invincible, but there's a lot of other great voices in it, such as J.K. Simmons playing his father. Um, and one of the characters in it is Adam Eve. She is a female superhero who is probably one of the main characters of the series, I would say. Um, at least a major character. Compared to some of the other heroes that we see, like she has a bigger role to play overall. Um, and she was a character who always had kind of this complicated life that we saw. We didn't get a lot of looks into it, but from what we did see, it's like, yeah, it wasn't exactly the best. I'm trying not to go into detail for those who may not have seen it, and obviously this special will go into that detail too. But um, it explains a lot about like some of the things she's going through, um, and hopefully this special like really goes more into that, and I assume it will. This special, from what I know, is just gonna basically be her backstory. It's going to tell us probably how she got her powers, um, and how she first, trained up to be a superhero and everything. Plus, delve into more stuff with just her background and everything. Um, the reason I'm choosing to react to this when I didn't react to season 1 and I'm not sure if I'm going to react to season 2 is because it is a one-off prequel special, and I want to at least have some Invincible content on the channel. I want to at least try out something to just share in this with you guys, especially if I don't do season 2. on the channel. Um, we'll see how it goes, though. Let's just get to the special and see, and base it off of that. By the way, this is about an hour long, so not too bad. Basically a double length episode. And yeah, I'm sure I'm gonna like it because I did like Adam Eve, and it's still by the same people. So I'm sure I'll like the animation, the character work, and all of that. It's gonna be interesting to see what other characters are in this that like maybe aren't in the current day of the series. Um, just to see how like different it is in that regard. I'm also interested though to see like characters that we do know. One thing to note for those watching this though is that Invincible and this special as well are very mature. They're on Amazon Prime for a reason. Both the main series and this prequel will feature heavy language and extremely violent and gory situations. Like, extremely graphic in that regard. So, if you get queasy easily or just not able to handle, like, extreme gore and whatnot and horrific deaths, I would probably suggest not checking this one out. Because it can get pretty gruesome. Like, to the point where there's a couple points in season 1 that actually almost made me gag. And I can handle a lot. But there are some points that are just really that intense. I don't know how intense this is specifically going to get, but it could get very bad in that regard. So if you can't handle it, if you're not good with that kind of stuff, I would definitely suggest maybe skipping this one. Or at least being prepared for what's to come. So, yeah, for all of you who are good, let's continue on. Or let's get this started. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the special. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Listen, I know that this is setting up for season 2 and everything coming this fall. I know that most of this was still, like the vast majority of this was still centered around Adam Eve and everything, but that ending scene was completely unnecessary. In fact, I actually kind of dislike it. The scene itself isn't the issue, it's the fact that it was in there. This special was all about Adam Eve. It was her backstory. So to have like the last word of the special to be focused on Mark and his father and everything, and that I know that's the main story for the main series, but again, this special was Eve's special. It should have ended with her. To end it with Mark and his father just seems wrong to me. It comes across as like, oh, you have to remember this is not about the girl. That's exactly what it feels like to me. And I know that probably isn't the intent necessarily. Like, it's probably just to be like, oh, this is building into season 2 and everything. We're gonna see a lot more with all of that. But, like, if you wanted to do that at the beginning, before everything else. That way, you get that out of the way, and then everything else is about and even ends with Adam Eve. Like, closing this off on Mark and Nolan was just not okay in my eyes. Maybe that's just me, but it's like it just wasn't necessary. Honestly, it didn't even need to be in the episode at all. This special, again, was about Eve, not them. Yes, they're the main characters of the main series. But this wasn't about them. It didn't need to be made about them. Having the part at the beginning with the League or whatever they're called again, the Guardians, that's fine. I'm okay with that. Because that was how season 1 did it too. Showing them just to show the League and just to show the Guardians and all doing their thing, that's okay. But to have the focus at the very end switch to Mark Grayson, it's like it feels like this was just not important. Like it literally says, let me go to this. Let me get to this here. You have it ending with Eve crying into her adopted mother's shoulders and all. And then, after a few big credits, there's this big, bold text on the screen that pops up. Where was Mark Grayson during all this? Who fucking cares? It's not his story. Listen, I like Mark. I like the main series. But that is a really fucked up way to end this special. It's basically coming across as saying like, oh, we finally got that out of the way. Let's get back to the things that matter. That's what it comes across as. And I don't think that was the intent. I don't think that was what they were going for, but that's how it comes across. Like I said, I know Mark and Nolan are the main characters of the main series, but that's not what this is. This is a special. It is a one-off special that is about a specific character. And it should end with that character. Not with a big, bold statement on screen basically saying, let's get back to what matters. It's just so gross. It's so fucking gross. So, sorry I had to rant about that, because that just really bothered me in the end. It's like, it wasn't even an important scene. It was just like, oh, Nolan comes home from a day at work as a hero, interacts with his family, Mark's being a goober, and Nolan shows signs of his psychopathy. It's like nothing was added to that we didn't already have from the first season. Nothing was added to that changes anything. I don't even think there's really anything in there that could be like set up for season 2. It's like everything in there was stuff we already knew of and already had, like, it was completely needless and just felt like a big middle finger to the fact that this entire story was about a girl instead of the main male character. I hope I'm not the only one who's annoyed as fuck by that. Because it's like, that bothers me. Anyway, let's talk about the rest of this, because I don't want to be ranting about that forever. And these afterthoughts have already gone, according to my timer, about 7 minutes, so yeah. This special was really good. It gave us the backstory for Eve. how she came to be, how she got her powers, the fact that the parents we know for her are not even really her parents. She was just basically given to them, and their baby ended up actually dying after birth, which is really tragic in some ways, but also we definitely still see the abusiveness that these parents give towards Eve. And the thing that has always bothered me about the abuse that we see from them towards her in both this first season and now here is that it's not like this physical, like constantly like beating on abuse or anything. We're not like seeing the father like come home in a drunken stupor and wail on his wife and kid, and it's not that kind of abuse. It's just emotional berating. They treat her like shit and call her a freak and just constantly abuse her in that way. And I feel like that's like both, not to say it's more realistic, because that's definitely not accurate, because physical abuse is very realistic still, but it's, let's be honest, it's less talked about. When you hear about like parental abuse, whether in media or just people talking about it, the first thing they're always going to think about is, the kind of scenario I mentioned. One of the parents being super drunk, beating on their children, starving them, shit like that. The kind of heavy physical abuse. Mental and emotional abuse isn't really looked into as much. There are definitely examples of where it is, but there's a lot of people out there who still, unfortunately, don't view mental and emotional abuse as being as bad as physical abuse. And that's really fucked up, because sometimes it can be a lot worse. Sometimes people who have gone through mental and emotional abuse wish they were just hit. Because mental and emotional abuse can lead to just as much, if not more, trauma and emotional like instability. It can cause deep-seated fears and PTSD, to where certain situations just cause them to lock up. And physical abuse can definitely do stuff like this too, but mental abuses, emotional abuses, tend to have more of a mental effect on the victims, tend to do more to their psyche. And I'm speaking from experience. I've talked about this on the channel before, but for anyone new, I grew up in a mentally abusive household, in an emotionally abusive household. Like, there were occasions where I was physically abused, but it was mostly emotional and mental abuse. And it's to the point where I am, in my adult life currently, extremely sensitive to things. I can't handle pressure, like, at all. People yelling at me freaks me out and puts me into fight or flight mode, which is almost always flight. I almost always run rather than actually, confront anything. I'm extremely anxious all the time. I get extremely quiet when confronted with kind of anything, and I'm not okay. There's a lot more I could go into, but to save you time, I'm not okay. And I don't know if I ever will be. I'm 31 currently. I've not been a kid for over a decade. But it still goes on, because unfortunately I still have to live with my father due to these issues. I'm unable to hold a job because I can't handle the pressure and the stresses of it. I can't. I've tried. And it put me into such a extreme depression that I was suicidal. Not just in thought, but in action. Because I can't handle that stress. My emotional mentality is not strong enough because of the trauma and PTSD I have from the emotional abuse. And because of this, Eve's parents abusing her in this way always touched a chord with me very specifically. And it always felt a lot worse than seeing physical abuse in a lot of these shows or movies or whatnot, because it's something I could more connect to, which isn't a good thing, mind you, but still, the point is I could. And so it's like something like this definitely affects me a lot more. Though again, physical abuse definitely affects me. Luckily, they didn't show it a lot during this. They only showed a couple scenes of it during the special, because otherwise it would have definitely had much more of an active effect on me, I guess you could say. But yeah, there's a lot there, even so. And on top of this, you have Eve's friend Val from when she was growing up, the first friend she had, who she even met through kind of the mutual joke of them being freaks and all, of being weirdos. And yet, when Eve, and I'm calling her Eve, by the way, instead of Samantha, because it's like, Eve is, in a way, the name she chose, while Samantha's the name given to her by her emotionally abusive parents. So, yeah. I'm calling her Eve here. But to see that after she gets her powers, Val just completely abandons her, just turns her back on her and sees her as a freak and a weirdo, is just, that is heartbreaking. That hurt. Because again, that's a thing that I've went through. When I came out as trans, I had multiple friends do that exact same thing to me. Multiple people I thought were friends abandoned me. And there were some who even tried to preach to me and explain why I was wrong. And it's just like, yeah, I came to realize that they were never my friends in the first place. If their friendship is conditional on sticking to some kind of standard that they have, then it was never a real friendship. Because it's not like I did something bad. It's not like I did something wrong. I didn't break the law or become a criminal or anything. I simply chose to live my life as the girl I am. And they chose to be fucking assholes because of it. Something that doesn't even really affect them. And so, I'm clearly not friends with them anymore. I have found different and new friends who accept me as I am, just like Eve has. And I am kind of wondering if Val is going to return in season 2, if that was like a setup kind of thing. Because that's going to be upsetting if she does return and is still not accepting of Eve. If she returns and, mends her ways and becomes a better person and starts accepting Eve for who she is, then I'll be okay with it. But it also has to be for the right reasons. Like, if she comes back and is like, oh, you're a superhero now, so you're cool. I want to have that clout of being friends with a superhero. Fuck that. That's not okay. Because that means you're just coming back, you're trying to be your friend again just for the clout. Not because of any genuine reason of mending your ways and making up for how terrible you were. That's not helping anything. Also, with this, I knew Brandyworth was going to die. That was pretty obviously going to happen. I was actually a little surprised by the fact that the other government agents, though, like, just seemed to have their memories erased. That one caught me off guard. Honestly, I thought they were probably going to die too, just based on the fact that they're obviously not chasing Eve in the current day. But I guess this works as well. The only deaths we had were Eve's real family. Her birth mother, Brandyworth, who could be considered a father figure to her more than her adoptive father. And you have her siblings, who were unfortunately killed in the battle with her. But we see when she changes that picture at the end, it's like those are the people that is her real family, the people she considers her family. The only reason she hugged her mother at the end is because she needed some level of comfort at that moment. That's the only reason she hugged her adoptive mother. She was in an extremely vulnerable emotional state. But that photo proves that she doesn't consider them her family. She doesn't consider them her parents. And honestly, completely fair. A lot of this special with Eve learning to control her powers and figure things out and all was just really good to see, really fun. Getting to learn the backstory and everything on how it happened in the first place was really cool. And the fact that the special is specifically Eve kind of leads me to believe that she's going to be even more important in season 2. And I'm definitely excited to see that, because I really liked her as a character in season 1. And if she's going to be more important and have a bigger role, I'm all for that. So we'll see how it goes. I am definitely excited to see more, though. But I'm still kind of unsure if I want to react to it. Because, like I said, I did very much enjoy just watching it on my own for season 1. So I'm going to give it some thought. And we'll see. I don't know if I'll make an announcement later, but when it comes out, if I end up reacting to it, I do. If I don't, I don't. Basically. Unless something happens to where it's chosen as a donation reward or something, then I'll basically have no choice. But as it is right now, I just don't know. I'm definitely watching it either way, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm also kind of mixed on The Boys, just talking about another Amazon Prime superhero series that's very adult. I'm also kind of unsure if I'm going to continue reacting to that, because the last season I was, I feel like I was struggling to get through. Maybe I'll end up switching out The Boys for Invincible. Maybe I'll just do that. I don't know. Like I said, we'll see. We'll talk about it later, maybe. If it ends up being chosen as a donation reward at some point, then that would give us an answer. But if not, I'll just figure it out on my own, and we'll see whether or not it comes in November when the season comes out. Either way, tell me in the comments below, what did you think of the Adam Eve special? I'm hoping that I'm the only one here who had the personal connection to a lot of this shit. I'm hoping that you guys don't really have that as well. But I guess if you do, let me know. Like, I'm here for you if you need to vent about that kind of stuff. Believe me, it's like I'm a safe space to vent about that stuff. If you need to vent, to talk about anything like that, please feel free. Even if it's just in like a private message or something, I will listen. I will hear you out. Even if I don't always know what to say in response, I'm very much willing to listen. So just keep that in mind. But hopefully you haven't gone through all of that stuff like I have. Hopefully your upbringing was a lot better than mine and than Eve's. But let me know your thoughts either way. Let me know what you thought of her backstory and how this all expanded upon her character. In the meantime, thank you all so much for tuning in. And for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.